Welcome back to another episode of Harmonious at Lunch, the show that fuels your business success. I'm Brandon Gano, your host and guide through the world of harmonious business growth. Today, we're unlocking powerful strategies with industry experts to help your business thrive. If you're a business owner, entrepreneur, or executive, you are in the right place. Join me and our incredible guests today on the journey to clarity, growth, and success. It is time to revolutionize your approach to business. Let's dive in with another episode of Harmonious at Lunch. Welcome back into some more bite-sized business advice. In today's episode, I am super excited to dive into a very, very interesting product, company, and entrepreneur as well. I have a special friend with me, a local from Raleigh where I am, and we just met last week, but her product and her story was so cool. I knew I had to have her on the show. So Gillian Utesch, welcome to the show, and thank you for being here.
Awesome. I'm excited to be chatting with y'all.
So we're talking about human-to-human connection starts with AI, which is an oxymoron in and of itself. But I heard your story, and I think I agree with you. So I want to explore this. But talk to me about what really it is that you do, because AI is such a buzzword and a craze, and I think people go a little bit too far with it. But your story and your path is unique. So when you say human-to-human connection starts with AI, talk to me about where we're talking about today.
As humans, at least from my perspective, we want to be connected to each other. We don't want to just wander around by ourselves. We want to have friends. We want to have connections. We want to be that person that knows somebody and that can give the referral or the reference when we're asked about it. And so then translating that to the digital world was difficult for me because you have to just scroll around and hunt and peck and click for people, which is way less fun than just going to a networking event or a coffee shop where you can see them and sit down with them. So I really struggled to transition from in-person connecting, in-person networking to virtual online connecting after COVID. And my business, I can't say it suffered. It failed. It crashed and burned because I was not engaging with my existing clients the way that I had before by seeing them at networking events or you're taking them out to lunch. I wasn't engaging with my existing clients, and I definitely wasn't finding new ones because having to scroll around, click, I'd spend an hour sending a message, please be my friend, please connect with me. And then if they didn't, then I'd get discouraged. And it was just this self-fulfilling prophecy that I wasn't able to do virtually what I can naturally do as a human. So I just, in a step of just frustration and bravery, said, you know what? It can't get any worse than it is. Let's see if AI can help us do these essential but repetitive tasks that are needed to data mine for new contacts and engage with them, reach out to them, send them messages, comment on their posts. Can help us do that, then I can get to the stage like you and I are right now where we're actually talking, we're actually connected. That's what I crave and what I needed.
Yeah, and no, we did this the old-fashioned way. We actually met in a networking group, so not through AI or LinkedIn, but I've heard at least about what you built, and I'm curious, like, what were the things you were doing? You said scrolling on LinkedIn, Facebook, obviously, but like, how much time were you investing to create these in-person connections prior to your software? Because that to me has always been my struggle. I hate social media, just full disclosure. And I can't stand being on there. I can't stand sending connection requests and messages. Like, what was your day-to-day like pre-COVID that actually gave you success in the human-to-human connection?
For the spending time online, I'll go that one. I was spending way more time than I wanted to spend doing it, but I was not spending nearly enough time to really get traction and get what my business needed. And so that was the frustration for me, was I was already just like holding my eyes open, trying to like scroll and then cutting and pasting. And I mean, I thought my finger was like going to just like get stuck in a little hook from the mouse. Like, so it was way more time than I wanted, but I also wasn't getting the results. I wasn't getting face-to-face, digital face-to-face meetings like this. And I just realized with my business coach, it was a numbers game. I'd have to step up the activity, and I just did not want to step up the activity. Whereas when you meet in person and you're in networking events, you can meet multiple people in the same breath. Just like even though you and I were on a virtual networking, we still were all in the same quote unquote room together. Whereas oftentimes when you're trying to connect through social channels, you're literally doing it one at a time versus having 25 people in a room and you can kind of chat with this five and then meander over to this five. And it's just, it flows a little bit easier. But definitely is doable to translate to the one on one virtual environment with the help of AI.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember a couple of years ago in a previous business, prior to selling it, I had a team of VAs doing reach
Yep.
out on social media. Um, this was before a lot of the software to do this stuff even existed, especially before your tool. But it was crazy the number of reach outs they were doing. I think there were like 5 or 6 people on the team sending
Yep.
thousands of connections and messages a day across the different platforms. And I just thought about that effort. I'm like, first of all, I could never do that by myself. No entrepreneur can. And the second of all, the volume of messages they sent for what was returned was stupid. So when you talk about a numbers game, it's like, yeah, the numbers game makes sense. But you have to scale it exponentially, and the return is so minimal. Why would you want to invest in that with human talent? So this approach is fascinating to me. So talk me through your software then, because you actually made this for you and it wasn't really meant for anybody else. That I think that's a fascinating story. So tell me that.
It truly is an accident. A lot of entrepreneurs talk about building the plane while they're flying it. My experience has been figuring out where we're going while we're literally building the plane and flying it because we were doing the same thing you were. We were doing the virtual assistant route. That was the easiest plug and play before we got to this place. And I noticed the same thing. I was using very talented folks with really unique human qualities to do these repetitive tasks. And I wanted to, yes, now some people like tedious things. I have a girlfriend, if you have a tangled necklace, you can mail it to her and she would pay you for the privilege to let her untangle it. Like she loves things like that. I am not that person, and I don't think many people are. So I kind of imagine our VAs were, yeah, they were doing that kind of work because that's what we had contracted them to do. But that was not filling their love cup, and that was not glorifying their human uniqueness. So that to me is where AI really allows us to be more human to human. Where we're able to use our human uniqueness, our human abilities to do really awesome things, to create, to develop, to design, versus click, paste, cut, paste, click, which is what we were doing. And so that's when I kind of said, well, on a crazy whim, if I could just have a magic wand. I think actually one of my friends asked me, I think all good things come on like beverage napkins. We were like at a bar and she goes, if you could just have a magic wand. And I was like, I would have this tool that does da 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 da. And I just kind of wrote down the things I wanted to do. And then the next day I thought, let me just explore this for 1 second. Like, not going to spend an hour on it, but just 1 second. Let me reach out to some of our developers, some engineers that we knew that had helped us build something else prior, and just see if this is feasible. Because at that point, Chat GPT wasn't a thing, OpenAI wasn't really here, so we were kind of before. Now it wouldn't have seemed so crazy, but at the time it sounded super crazy. So it was just supposed to be for me. I only wanted to get my marketing business back online without having to utilize the VAs doing what they were doing. I wanted to get clients through another tool and then use our VAs for truly creative things. That's really what I wanted to do. So it lived on my Apple Mini for a while. I designed it in Canva. I knew just conceptually how I wanted it to look, how I wanted it to work. So I just kind of laid it out and said, okay, magic 0 and 1 people, make this a thing. And so then as I was kind of utilizing it and getting success, I try to be transparent and share with other business owners what I'm doing, what's working, what's not. And I just said, hey, y'all, you got to dig in and you've got to data mine for new contacts. You've got to stay connected with your existing contacts. You've got to engage with LinkedIn is not a billboard, it's a coffee shop. So if you're just creating all this content and pumping it out, you are not going to get results. I just became a connection engagement evangelist because it's what truly saved my business. And everyone I spoke to had the exact same visceral response I did. They're like, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a creator. I am not a mouse clicker. I don't want to do that. And I said, don't worry, I got this tool. I'll let you use it. And it kind of just became this, hey, I got a screwdriver you can borrow. It was still at that point not a software as a service because I still don't see myself in that lens. I feel like that movie, Meet the Fockers, where he's like, I don't want to be painted with that brush. Like, I don't want to be painted as a software as a service developer, because it's still not how I see myself. I see myself as a creative, as a marketer, as a human to human connector. And so then as it continued to grow, then we had to really beef it up, get server space and all that really official software stuff. But even then, I thought it was just going to be used for business development. I thought it was just going to be used for people the exact same way I use it, because, we're humans and we say, okay, if I hand you a spatula, some people are going to use it to smash things down. Some people are going to use it to scoop things up. Some people are going to use it to split things in half. So we're all going to use the same tool a different way, but that's not our first inclination. So when I put it out into the world, I thought it was just biz dev. And then then we saw how well it did at engaging. So people who had already large existing networks who said, I don't need any more friends. Great. Let's engage with the ones you have. So they don't churn on you, or they don't think that you're rude because you only reach out to them when they need something. Like, none of us, I look at my text messages when I reach out to girlfriends to borrow things or ask questions. I'm like, the last text I had was me asking her for something. Like, that's just, especially as a Southerner, it's like, So, I really wanted to create these genuine relationships that we would do as humans if we had all the time in the world. We wouldn't just reach out to people when we needed something. So then we started using it to engage with existing clients, and that helped a lot of our subscribers. What has been a huge surprise here recently, which is everything in the States with our economy and our employment, a lot of folks are either without a job or they're trying to transition to a job that fits them better. And so they've been, submitting resumes on job boards, and that is an AI fiasco in itself, because they're using AI to scan them and cross-check it. To me, that's using AI, not I know they think that they're saving their recruiters, time, so thus allowing their recruiters to amplify their human uniqueness. But all it's doing is creating all this back end stuff of people trying to cut and paste the words and doing the whitewashing in the headers of their stuff. So people were sending out thousands of resumes to get no traction at all. Truly brilliant, talented people. And so we realized it comes back to basics. It's who you know. Connect with the businesses and the people that you want to work with. That's what you would do as a human. You say, hey, I want to go work for Microsoft, or I want to go work at, Johnson & Johnson or whatever. And so you'd ask your network, hey, do you know anybody at Johnson & Johnson? Do you know anybody? And then you say, hey, if a job comes open that looks like this and quacks like this, please reach out to me. And so that's what those subscribers were doing, was they were genuinely reaching out and creating connection with the businesses and people they wanted to work with. So if they saw a job posted, they could just go to Bill and be like, hey, Bill, I saw this job posted. Can you elbow your cube mate and say, hey, pull my resume to the top? And it has been hugely successful. But it's not a new concept. It's not a new idea. It's truly back to basics, but it's AI helping us have that amplified human to human experience.
Yeah, I love the way you explain that too, because I've used other tools that are designed to be more like salesy tools, and they're hit or miss, but at the core of all of them is to the extent you build a relationship and the person trusts you, is basically the equivalent of the success you're going to have with the tool. It just sounds like you built yours for that rather than building it for whatever the desired outcome. Because
Yep.
I think if you, and I'm curious to hear your feedback on this, if you had built it to be specifically a sales tool or specifically a recruiting tool, so to speak, to find a job, you would have built to that end, and you probably would have missed that middle core piece of building relationships. Am I right?
Right on. And at our agency, even before we did all this, when we were still just a marketing agency, I very much operated under the people first, profit second. If we treat our people right, our employees, our clients, their end users, if we do right by people, the revenue will naturally follow. And so every decision I made, or every kind of direction, always came from that, not how can I get the most revenue in this moment. So we were already, as a team, kind of programmed to think like that. So just accidentally and naturally, when building this tool, we were building it from the perspective of how can we create genuine human engagement with this tool. And then accidentally, once that happens, then it sets you up nicely to do the sale, to sell yourself as an employee, or to sell yourself in their inbox with hey, here's my new video for the new product, will you check it out? If you sent that DM to someone cold, they're going to be like, get out of my life. But if you send that DM to someone someone you've already been engaging with for 2-3 months because you've commented on their post, you've endorsed them for a skill, you've written them a referral on LinkedIn, like you've had some engagement. It doesn't feel salesy at all. People honestly feel honored. That's the response I get when I use that in my workflow. And I'm like, hey, here's my new tool. Here's some YouTube videos. Will you check it out and give me feedback? Oh, absolutely. I'd be honored to give you some feedback versus she's trying to tell me something.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm curious, before we wrap up here, it sounds like the tool is flexible enough, and correct me if I'm wrong, to really build these relationships on your own speed, your own schedule, so it matches your style, so to speak.
Mhm.
So why don't you walk me through either best practices that you found for yourself, for people who use it, people on the platform? How do we really want to think about and reverse engineer? Maybe that's a bad way to say it, but I'll roll with it anyway. Building relationships so it is human to
Mhm.
human, leveraging AI, yes, but it is human to human. It's authentic, and it's authentic to us for
Mhm.
success. What have you found is the best way to do that?
And it's evolved as we've gotten more subscribers and we've seen different case studies. When you know better, you do better. So when we started building what I call workflows, so you have the action, whether you are endorsing them for a skill, writing a comment, sending an email, sending a text message, like you have your action. And then your action can be conditional of things, really
Mm,
narrowing in what makes sense. So if they have an open profile on LinkedIn, do this. If they don't have an open profile, do this. So really getting into that was a big exploration for us, and the impact that can have. With that, we put in time delays because you don't want your avatar to do something at 4 a.m. every day. When I wake up in the morning and I get emails, and I get the same email from the same sender at 4 a.m. every day, I'm like, girl, please alternate your AI so your timing is different. So you think about it as a human because you don't want to look too desperate. You don't want to be like, hey, be my prom date, be my prom date. It's like, dude, wait, like wait a day. So you can stagger your different actions, which make it feel more human. But kind of coming back to your I think the core of your question, when we first started building these workflows, our goal was to connect with people. And even as a human, when I was scrolling and pecking, and if I found someone like you, my goal would be like, I want to connect with him. The first thing I would do is send you a connection request. And I'd write a note. We've learned that that's not the best thing to do. And by having the avatars do the work for us, then we can align with what is natural for the sales process. So we've learned to do 4 actions first before connecting, before asking to connect. And when you send the ask to connect, don't put a message, because at that point, no message is needed. If I had seen you in biology and then bumped into you in the hallway and then saw you in the cafeteria, I wouldn't be still introducing myself at that point. I'd know you enough. I'd know what grade you're in. And I'd be like, hey, Brandon, can I sit down and eat with you? And so basically, we're kind of getting it to that point versus just walking up to the lunch table cold. Hey, Brandon, I'm Gillian. I'm also a sophomore. We go to biology together. Like, that's just a little too much. So that's what we were doing. So we try to pick 4 actions that feel natural for the user or for the subscriber, put in their workflow, and then we send a connection request with no content because they know you at that point. And then we've noticed a lot higher success rate because with LinkedIn, you can get 200, like LinkedIn rules, you can get 200 new connections a week. So
mhm.
our goal is with our subscribers, no matter their purpose for being on the platform, whether they're a new business owner trying to ramp up contacts, they're an established 25-year-old business trying to just keep the contacts they have, they're a job recruiter, whatever. So we've learned to kind of get these processes and then translate them across the different industries. And that's what's so interesting is it's all the same. People at their core are the same. So no matter the function of why someone's on the platform, we're able to follow that same process and it works.
That's cool. So the actions, the 4 actions, that could be like a post, comment, share, things like that, right?
Mhm.
Okay. And then what would you say? Obviously, the after connection is an entirely different
Yep.
workflow and process. We won't get into that today, but from from identifying a potential contact to sending that first connection request, ballpark me. What's an average or maybe a best practice you found about length of time between those 2 activities?
Keeping in mind that as a human, you may have an idea to do something every day. Like, I'm going to send out 5 new connection requests on LinkedIn every day. As a
Mm,
human, you're not going to hit it most time. They're not going to hit it every day. And so I try to stagger between 2 days and 7 days. then you don't look too desperate, but you're still keeping things moving. And then that also kind of takes out for the time of, maybe you're on vacation that week or you're traveling that week. You wouldn't have done anything. So I try to alternate between 2 and 7 days and then vary the hours. So it doesn't look like, gosh, this woman's always up at 3 a.m. So sometimes they go out with the 3 a.m. delay, or sometimes they go out at 7 p.m. Like, I really want it to look varied. So close enough that you don't take forever, because when our subscribers, they're on this tool because they need results quickly for whatever reason. They're trying to save their business, grow their business, or change careers, and they don't have time to wait because that mortgage payment comes every month. And so we're trying to balance that without having like commission breath, which is such a salesy way to describe it.
Yeah.
But we try not to have commission breath, but also use the tool to its maximum. With that, the average subscriber, it takes about 3 months because let's say if I sent you a connection request, even if my next step was 1 day away, if you didn't accept my connection request because you're on sabbatical for a month, my avatar can't do the next step. And so we're still dealing with humans in the process. So I always encourage our subscribers to build lots of campaigns, go out to lots of different data sets of people. It's not pay-per-click. So from the digital marketing, those of us that kind of went through that world, we're so used to it's almost like cell phone minutes. Like we think everything we do digitally is like cell phone minutes. We're nervous, and it's not like that here. There is no limit. There's no cost for activity. The only thing we're limited to, we're only bound by time. The avatars can't work more than 9 hours a day, but they can do as much in those 9 hours as they possibly can. And that can be driven by where the task they were working on that day, connecting with people who maybe aren't accepting because they're not there, so they won't get through as many things. Or are they now commenting on posts, endorsing for skills, all stuff that they can just roll through. So that part is where you get the difference. So 3 months is about the magic number where folks start to notice. And then, like, I've had my avatar active for 18 months now, and I find it so funny that I will look back at my LinkedIn, just like any sales, in any sales position. I'll look back through my LinkedIn messages, and somebody I've been chatting with for 6 months now finally wants to have a call.
Yeah.
But I, as a human, wouldn't have stuck with them for 6 months. I would have gotten bored. I would have moved on. I would have gone to lower hanging fruit, as we say.
Yeah, it makes sense. I think the 9-hour thing is actually a positive, because you can tell when somebody's working, at 3 a.m. and that's not realistic. So I like that. But Gillian, we're going to wrap this up. I'm curious, what's the name of the tool? I'll put your website on the screen. It'll be in the show notes down below. But where can people find it and learn more? Maybe jump on it.
We are at brokenglassceilingmarketing.com, and that will direct you to some YouTube videos where I'm sharing my screen and showing you how it works. I also have my calendar link there on the website. You can get on a call with me or someone on my team. We'll walk you through, do a demo. Right now, we have creatively called it LinkedIn Connector, because that's what it does. And some people call it Dash because that's the URL. It's for the subscribers, they go to dash.brokenglassceilingmarketing.com. So a lot of our subscribers have just started calling the software Dash. But we do need to come up with a cute name. I think I might need to do like a giveaway, like give someone like a couple free months to come up with a name versus LinkedIn Connector. But that's where it is. And we're also on all the socials. We're on LinkedIn. We're on Facebook. And our goal now is helping our subscribers maximize the tool and learn new ways to use it versus just the original function that they came on for.
Yeah, I wish you knew somebody with a marketing background that could help you with the name. I don't know. If I can think of anybody, I'll share them. Okay.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks.
Gillian, thank you for coming. All of that is down in the show notes below. I have to say, I've had other guests talk about LinkedIn strategy and different ways to maximize your presence on LinkedIn on this show. And I felt exhausted after those episodes because it's like, oh, you want me to spend how many days per day on LinkedIn? I feel lighter after this one, and I'm excited to check the tool out myself. So thank you for being here, Gillian.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
We'll see you next time on Harmonious at Lunch. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Harmonious at Lunch podcast. Make sure you subscribe on whatever platform you're on, and we want to invite you to join us in the Small Business Success Facebook group, our private group where guests and listeners come together to grow your business. We want impact-driven entrepreneurs who are ready to go to the next level in this group so we can all share ideas, collaborate, and grow our businesses together. Go to whatif.com/group, and we want to invite you to join today. See you on the next episode of Harmonious at Lunch.